Let's now get to some practical examples of Mandela effect and deconstruct them. We find inadvertence not only by the perpetrator of the original error, but also by the believer. As they sloppily investigate and look at evidence that once again doesn't hold water intrinsically related to this effect, we will take a look at what they miss that keeps fueling this ridiculous idea. We will also take a look at how people can easily miss things in what they remember because of strong focal points. We will see suggestibility, conflation, misinformation as truth, illogical sequence as reasoning, and mix-ups. The Mandela Effect crowd isn't aware of this, that there absolutely were rumors about Mandela's death circulating in the 80s. That's all they were, rumors. Specifically, as late as November of 1988, newspaper articles were quelling this rumor, as seen here in the bulletin, for example. And in fact here, in Star News, having started as early as 1985. And in Finger Lake Times. This mismemory was spawned by rumors and sustained by belief, because the mind had some inkling or idea of fleeting keywords like Mandela and death, that it must be true. There was no convergence point of a reality change. The rumors started then. With this rumor and lack of instant reference and confirmation, it is likely the confusion arose out of conjecture based on the overall tumultuous events having often surrounded him. I even pondered why some claim they remember a gathering for him, like a funeral. For a moment, I thought, well, it is logical to assume, even if not true. Naturally, a prominent figure dies. One would be inclined to think, on some level, it would be a big event, with many people gathered for it, and perhaps televised. But I wanted to find an actual physical event that could contribute to the memory. So I realized what probably helped that visual of a mass gathering along, in combination with the rumor, was Mandela's 70th birthday concert in 1988, and in fact it was televised. In turn, their memory in passing interpreted the massive gathering of people as a funeral progression, gathering, or respective celebration for his death. I don't doubt that a birthday and funeral should appear differently. But with this particular individual and the events usually associated with him, the mass gathering for his birthday was visually sufficient to carry on the assumptions the memory held on to, spurred on by that specific rumor. Not to mention, the man himself wasn't physically present at the concert, having still been in prison, adding to a funeral-type effect with his absence. There are many videos for the birthday gathering. Just go on YouTube and search. For example, here's a fully extensive playlist of what was on TV at the time. Also, articles such as this talk about the concert. In addition, in the very early 1990s, I recall music made related to the topic of injustice and Mandela himself. That although finally physically free out of prison, he was not sociologically free in his own country. In other words, he wasn't dead if they were writing songs about his present status at the time. After some research, I found the music I remembered. Here's a clip of that song from a performance by KRS-One and Boogie Down Productions on Arsenio Hall show. Mandela's not free, Mandela's not free. Now listen to the lyrics and the pure reality. Mandela was released in 1990 as seen here, in this article by the Bangor Daily News, and eventually went on to become South Africa's president in 1994 as seen here. What I notice online among most of the Mandela Effect believers is that when they claim to remember, it's interesting that subsequent events are not mentioned. For example, I mostly see a believer insist they remember him dying in 1988, and then they leap forward to the news about him dying in 2013. This could be an assumption on my part, but it seems that maybe knowledge of the various events of his life between 1988 and 2013 would have possibly put an end to the mismemory that he had already died. So it seems they are ignorant of these in-between events, since they aren't mentioned, and why would they mention it if they weren't ignorant of these facts? The fact is, he didn't die in 1988. The timeline and sequence shows he was released from prison and went off to become president subsequently, and a musical band made music referencing his political status at the time, following the articles that effectively prove his prior death as mere rumor. That's why these memories of him exist. He never died as Mandela Effect believers remember it.